Good evening. Welcome back. It's your boy, 2 Cent. Where you been? We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but we are back. New time, same channel, different day. Monday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, ramtv.live. This will be going every week. We're changing things up. Things are going to be a little bit different around here. We're going to a 30-minute format as opposed to a 1-hour format. Right off the bat, I feel we're going to have a better show in that 30 minutes. That way we can just pound the big topics. We can get in there, hit them hard, have a good time. We don't have to worry so much about sort of trying to stretch it out and hit everything and getting real deep with the show. In this 30-minute format, I think we're going to be able to just pound the show, hit the things that we want, and have a good time with it. Another format change we're going to be doing is I wasn't as receptive to interviews the first go around because there's a lot of them, honestly. And also on top of it, you come on here to see me, to listen to me. Everybody's here for me. I mean, we all know that, but I think we can have a good time if we bring on some other people. So something we're going to do that I did want to do last time that we weren't as successful with is I want to try to bring someone on with a different opinion. I think everybody would really like to see that. I think it's something that I think would get some ideas flowing. That kind of segues into a little bit of why I left, why I'm back. So let's get into the why I left. When I was doing the show before, I was trying something that I thought people would want, and that is to say to be a very pragmatic person. I was trying to draw in more people with honey than with vinegar, and that had its limit. Not only did it have its limit on the number of people that I was reaching, it had its limit on me. I am a very animated person. All of you that are here from TikTok, you know that now. It used to be quite funny for me that I would have people say, wow, you're the most level-headed Republican I've ever seen. You're such a level-headed Trump supporter. I didn't know you guys could be so level-headed. And meanwhile, my wife is laughing, saying they have no idea who you are. Now you see who I really am. F-bombs are flying left and right. Juan, my producer, says I can't say those. I think I get a couple a show, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe we're going to test the limit a tiny bit. Shaking his head. I think I got one. He's shaking his head. So here's what I did. I took a step back. I took a step back because it was really kind of getting to me that I had to sort of put on this facade. And that also came from when I first started getting on social media. Go back to this time last year. America was quite literally on fire. And they were doing anything and everything they could to disrupt the country because in an election year, if there's a lot of disruption going on, people are going to vote for change. No matter who it is, they're going to want to vote for change. We saw the same thing under Bush W. When we had the crash in the economy, everybody voted for change. And Barack Obama was going to win anyway, but it made things harder for McCain. This go around, they were setting cities on fire. They were doing everything they could to get people scared. COVID was going to kill everyone on the planet. And everyone was scared they were going to vote for change and everything that happened with that. So I started speaking up. I had things to say, but again, I was trying to be a pragmatic guy. I was trying to reach the other side. I thought there was some dialogue that we could get in there. Thought I could do that. So we started building a following, kind of started going up pretty quick. Then right after the election, I had something to say about the election. And thou shall not talk about the election on TikTok. And I got smacked hard. I gave it 45 days of trying to work through and get the channel going again. People say, oh, you complain that you're ghost banned, you just have bad content. Yeah, that's why after one community guidelines violation where I was adding 1,500 people a day leading up to that, and I added nobody after it, and I never got any exposure after that. So we started over. We started over with the same approach, which is to say being pragmatic and reaching out to people, and we were raising at the same rate, and then we plateaued. We plateaued at about 50,000 followers. And I would say that was probably content related. The content related issue was I was so worried about saying something wrong that they would kick me off. And I said, enough with this. I'm done. And I also had some things in my personal life. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I have things that are important to me that I needed to take care of. And I took the time away from this to put my time there. And I think if you're in that same situation, make the tough decision to let the things go that are outside of your family, go back to the family, secure that back up, and then you can come back to the things that you find are important outside of the family. So then I came back. And when I came back, I said, F this. Juan, I'm not going to quite say it yet. I'm going to hold on to this one. I said, F this. I am done with being nice. D-U-N, spelled correctly. I am done. I can either self-censor or I can have them censor me. Either way, I'm censored in those situations. And so I said, F this, F it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there and see what happens. And when I did, everything went crazy. In the 2.5 months since I've been back, we have gained over 200,000 followers. And then Juan called me up. We need you. We want you. Please come back. What do I have to do? I'll double what I was paying you before. Juan, you weren't paying anything. Okay, I'll triple it. And then it was at that point that I said, maybe. No, but I'm just kidding. So we've been working on the show for a little while, and it's going to be more of me and you talking. As we go forward, I'm going to bring on people for guests. I don't want just people I agree with. If they could be slightly different than me, at least that's a little more interesting to talk to them. If they could be wildly different than me, but have a professional, courteous conversation with somebody, absolutely, let's bring them on. I hope they're a full-blown socialist that can have a decent conversation and share ideas. If I could get a full-on Marxist on here and they want to share their ideas and I will share mine right back and we are respectful, I want it. I want it. We're going to do a couple other fun things later on as we start to grow a little bit more and we have this live on YouTube and you are all following there. I'll be able to get your questions and your comments coming in. We can address those in real time. That's going to be a lot of fun. Live beforehand, if you guys follow me on TikTok, Juan, if you could put that across the bottom for me, my TikTok handle. If you guys follow me on there, what I'll be doing is I'll be going live in the lead up to the show. Thank you, Juan. And what I'll do is I'll ask what you guys want to talk about. Previously, I would have scripted this all out. I wanted a very professional approach. I wear a button-up shirt. I had a script. I wasn't trying to read it, but I was trying to keep myself on a good pace and having segues. That's not me. That's not me. I can read well, great, but let's have a conversation. You all wanted to hear me talk anyway. You like the way I talk. I'm going to guess you like the way I look because just about everybody does. So let's put the whole package together, and I think we're going to have a really, really good time. So that's what happened. We're here now. I'm excited. We're already 7 minutes into this show. I'm now crunched for time, and I think that's fantastic, and we're going to keep pushing on it. Big topic for tonight. I'll give you a quick rundown. Afghanistan and the absolute S show. Not quite yet one. We're going to get one in there. The complete lack of transparency in this BS. Man, I want to do it so bad. In this BS administration and also the vaccine mandate. I'm going to hit those for you. I want to start off with Afghanistan. I'm going to start off with Afghanistan from my point of view. Sounds silly, but here's why I brought that up. As everything was falling apart, I did my best as I was talking to you on social media. I did my best to not insert myself into it because I feel there's far too much of that going on. And what's really interesting is, and I'm still getting used to it, people look to me on social media as a source of news. I really want to make things clear. I read the news, I consume the news, and I give you my version of it back. But if you come to me and you like my point of view, keep doing it, and we can keep doing that. However, as things were falling apart in Afghanistan, I didn't want to insert myself into it. But on my show, I'm going to do what I want. And on this show, you're getting it from my point of view. I am an Afghanistan war veteran 3 times. The first time I went on that aircraft right there on the B-52. So we're going to do a little bit of story time so I can build up for you an understanding of why it hit me personally as hard as it did. So go back to 2005. And my unit was going out to Diego Garcia. You can look it up. It's actually a pretty cool place. It's the British-owned island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Their Marines run security on it. Our Navy runs the airfield, and our Air Force runs missions out of it. So that's pretty damn cool. And your boy was there, navigator weapons officer on the B-52. And I flew with a group of guys, and we were what's called a hard crew. And when you're a hard crew, you always fly together. And these missions were about 5 hours to feet dry. That's where you get into dry land. Pakistan is first, and then Afghanistan. So about 5 hours from Diego, 5.5 hours up to Afghanistan. We would aerial refuel on the way up. We'd get into country. We'd aerial refuel again. We'd hang out usually for the whole night. We usually had night shift. and then you fly the 5.5 hours or so back. So these missions were no less than 17 hours long. My longest was 24 hours, and that was a deployment record after we had previously set the deployment record at 22 hours. That was my first deployment. I was a pretty young guy, and I flew with those guys a lot, and we dropped bombs, and we killed bad guys, and we lost some guys on the ground on some of the missions that I was supporting. Fast forward, one of my crew members, I'm not going to say his name, I haven't told anybody this, he committed suicide. And that's part of why watching it fall apart like it did really kind of hit me, that we went over there, we did what we were supposed to do, and we lost people. And I'm an American just like you. I'm a native New Yorker. My family's all out of New York, and the day that we took out those bad guys and saved some good guys, I really felt like I had done my country proud. I had done New York proud, and I had done the right thing. So fast forward, I later did 2 deployments to Iraq, and then I got out. And when I got out, I needed to get away from it, and I couldn't do it anymore. So we did some other things, and we kind of moved around a little bit, and I found myself back in Afghanistan, this time as a civilian. So now I'm over there, I'm in country, I'm in Kandahar, I'm in Bagram, and I'm flying surveillance missions now. And we're doing the good work, right? I'm deploying away from my family. I'm a civilian, but I'm flying with the military. I'm providing them intelligence that they're using to action targets. And we're doing the work. We're doing the work. We're taking the mortars at night, the rockets at night, IEDs, vehicle-borne IEDs, VBIDs as we call them, going off right outside the gate. Here's one. The people working in the chow hall were poisoning people. That was a pretty cool one. There was another one where they're putting ground up glass in the food. That was a pretty cool one. So there's my take. There's my background on Afghanistan. So now everything's going to crap over this past month. And we pulled everyone out. And we learned nothing from when we did that in Iraq. And there's been no one who has brought up the full withdrawal from Iraq and what that produced. That gave to us ISIS. And ISIS started up a caliphate, which you'll remember, and no one wants to talk about, when Donald J. Trump defeated that caliphate by going after Islamic extremists, a phrase that nobody wanted to say at the time. Of course, he was right when he said, how can you defeat a problem if you don't identify the problem? He went after that problem. Now the country is falling apart because Joe Biden, despite what the people on the ground were telling him, and there's articles to show that, despite what his advisors were telling him, he wanted out. He said he was going to get out. He wanted out. And then he pulled the troops first. He closed Kandahar, which is a massive installation, first. He closed Bagram, which is not far geographically from Kabul, which you all heard about. And he closed that. So now he left people behind. Not the Americans he's left behind. He just left. And then the great prognosticator, the foreseer of everything, had a plan for everything. He had a contingency plan for everything, as Blinken will tell you, and Austin will tell you, and Sullivan and everyone will tell you, oh, we planned for this. We planned for this. So that's why we had to send more people back in than were originally there. And then because we don't have Kandahar, nobody's talked about this, and because we didn't have Bagram, we only had one place that everyone could go to. Wow. Could you make it any easier for a terrorist to attack a lot of people at one time? We funneled everybody into one spot, and then there was an attack. Back to me, because this one's about me today. I watched it all fall apart. The multiple deployments, the time away from my family, missing my children, not seeing them, losing a friend, losing people on the ground, going over there multiple times. What's happened in Iraq already? And we're doing it again, and we're doing it far worse. And it hit me. I actually had to take some time off. I took some time off from my online presence. I turned off everything. I just can't watch this anymore. And I was thinking of all the other veterans who were out there, and I know what they were going through, the idea of why did we do this? Why? Those that didn't come home at all, the husbands and wives who were handed the American flag folded, those that came back mangled. The divorces, that's another thing that nobody talks about. The high rate of divorces of otherwise what would have been potentially healthy couples, and the suicides. Why? And we let Joe Biden get away with repeatedly saying why he pulled out. Because for him, he created a false binary. It was this or it was this. It was stay for another 10 years of war or leave abruptly. Sorry, Joe. There was something else on that range that could have happened. There were not only two possibilities. There were only 25 to 3,500 of our troops on the ground with civilian support. No deaths from February 20 until the massacre that happened under Joe Biden. Another thing that contributed to that nobody wants to talk about, Daily Beast cited this one, Joe Biden removed all contractors and would not let any contractors go back into country to perform the maintenance on the aircraft. You can go back to when he spoke in July and said, I'm pulling everybody out. We will ensure that the Afghans have their Air Force because they needed to do the job. We pulled our Air Force out. We left them with their Air Force. We took all the contractors with us. They could not maintain an Air Force. So when this spineless, feckless coward says that these folks rolled over, some of them probably did. When he says that they gave up, some of them did. And a bunch of them probably changed sides. They took one hat off and they put on the other one. But these Afghans fought with everything they had alongside us for years, and we left them. And we took all support that they had. We gave them no ability to actually take care of themselves. Now, here's another great one that Joe Biden got away with. As things were falling apart, he called up Ghani, if I'm saying his name correctly, the disgraced president who fled with all of his money, and said, whether it is true or not, you have to change the perception of what's happening in Afghanistan. Now, I have it on very good authority that when a world leader calls another world leader and pressures them to do something, thou shalt be impeached. And it shall be on all news outlets 24/7. It's an existential threat to everyone who has ever existed, and the whole world is going to burn. He must be removed from office. Nothing. The man straight up told another leader to lie to his own country and to lie to the world. Nothing. I gave you the backstory on what it meant to me. I don't know if that means something to you. If you're a veteran and you're feeling crappy, reach out, please. There is no shame in asking for help. There is no judgment in saying, I feel awful. I feel bad. I don't feel right. Something's wrong. I did something wrong. I'm bad. Nobody's going to judge that. Please reach out. The VA actually does have help. There's other ways that you can search for it. If you're just feeling like there's something wrong or anything other than positive, reach out. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just a little PSA for everyone. Fast forward, Afghanistan has fallen. Approval ratings for Biden have absolutely plummeted. What do we need? We need a distraction. Every time Trump spoke, it was a distraction, right? He doesn't want us looking at the Russia investigation. The walls are closing in on him on the Russia investigation. So he's trying to distract us. The walls are closing in. Well, you have a country that's completely falling because of Joe Biden's decisions, not because of Trump. I don't really want to get into, you know what? We're stuck. Here we are. They're going to say Trump did this. I want to hit a couple of points on that. One, which of Trump's other policies did you uphold? Name one. Keystone XL pipeline, gone. Fracking on federal land, gone. You ended construction of the wall. You got rid of the Remain in Mexico policy. Which of Trump's policies were you also beholden to? I don't want to hear it. You picked this one. It was also a campaign promise for you, Joe Biden. You wanted out. You had word from those on the ground that it wasn't going to work. You got told by your advisors in your military that this wasn't the right way to do it. You did it. No one cares that you're saying it was Trump. And for all of you that follow and say it was Trump that made the deal, which of Trump's other policies did Biden follow? The answer is zero. This fell apart. This was on you. Of fact, also, Trump's withdrawal was contingency based. Anytime the Taliban stepped out of line as the withdrawal happened, they got smacked every time. Not like what Joe Biden did, where he hit some random aid worker and killed his children, and nobody wants to talk about that. He actually smacked their leaders down, and we had no casualties, as mentioned previously, from February of 20 until now. All right, we took a little step back. Let's get back to where we are now. We need a distraction. We need a distraction. People have realized that we are a bunch of D-bags and we have no clue what we're doing, and putting everybody back in that we used to have here from the Obama administration is a big F up. How are we going to distract people? Because keep in mind, polling was showing over 80% of all Americans, not conservatives, not Trump supporters, over 80% of all Americans disagreed with how Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. And he continuously got away with this, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. He continuously got away with the idea that he could just keep saying why he did it. He gave us this false binary. It was 10 more years of war, or it was get out just like this. Not the case, first of all. And he never answered to the how he did it. So he's reading the tea leaves. He's feeling the political winds. I need a distraction. And it has absolutely worked perfectly. Afghanistan has barely stayed in the news whatsoever. After Biden gets up there and says, there's going to be not a mask mandate. There's going to be a vaccine mandate, as I'm going to use my Department of Labor to pressure you, the employee, to get a vaccine. Never mind that as president-elect, I said I wouldn't do that. Never mind. Don't look over here. Listen to me now. I'm going to say something that's going to get all of you arguing with each other, and it has worked to a T. It has been perfect execution. It has worked perfectly. I cannot tell you how many times I have had liberals blast me for getting upset on a vaccine mandate. They are going to battle for him. They are going to die on this hill for him. They're citing state law, which, by the way, is not federal, and they're citing all these instances of where it happened at the state and that this is a good thing, and I'm a bad person for opposing it. I'm not saying anything about this damn vaccine. That doesn't count as a swear. I'm saying mandating any human being from one person without a law, I cannot stand for. Shall be a law of a representative body. Crazy, I know. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. And we can have a checks and balances system to make sure that one person isn't applying this in different ways for different peoples. It has worked to a T. They circled their wagons right back around him. If the Afghanistan fell out of the news cycle, and all we're doing now is arguing with each other. And that's exactly what they want. Because as we argue with each other, they have to find a home. They have to find what's good. They're right, remember. They're always correct. They're always morally correct. We're always evil. We're out here trying to kill people. Always are. They, excuse me, are going to circle around Biden and fight back, and now we're all fighting with each other again. And that's what we got. And it absolutely has worked to a T. And it's through the help of the press. The only person in the room who asked Jen Psaki even the slightest difficult question is the human Muppet, Peter Doocy. And for those of you who follow me online, you know that's what I call him. And some of you have pushed back on me saying he's the only one who's asking any questions. That's great. That's great. He never pushes back on Jen Psaki. She runs over him every day. Every day. He'll ask a question such as, this mask mandate doesn't cover those who are coming over the border illegally and are apprehended. Why? Jen Psaki's response, that is correct. She moves on. I am sorry, Peter Doocy. One follow-up question. You're allowed to be slightly rude in this room. Ask Jim Acosta. You can ask a follow-up question. Ma'am, that was not my question. The question is why? Ma'am, one more time. Are you telling the American people you're not going to answer this question? Are you not going to answer why? That alone, then you could turn it into a rhetorical question type situation where you force her to have to answer it to at least some degree. I'm sorry, I know that Trump was in a room full of 90 people who were against him, and they would work together and in concert, and Jen Psaki's in a room with 90 people working with her. I understand that. But please, Peter Doocy, you are the only person in the room who is asking any questions like this. Understand that she's going to do these things and be ready to follow up. Please, for me, a personal favor. I want to talk about the vaccine mandate itself. Could not be any further from constitutional. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. The fact that I heard a president of these United States say to its citizens, this is not about freedom. Everything is about freedom. That is why America is the greatest country in the world, because of the individual liberties of us, of the individual. The whole government, the checks and balances system, federalism, the states, all exist to protect you, the individual. And with you, the individual, protected is why we have prospered in every imaginable field that you could possibly think of, because we enable and empower and protect the individual. It is not the collective, but it is through protecting the individual that a rising tide rises all boats. And this government is going to rule and with an iron fist and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. Now, what does that mean? What are we going to do about it? That's a big question that we get asked all the time. What are we going to do about it? First of all, our revolutions on the right happen at the ballot box. Okay, well, 2 cent, I don't necessarily trust the ballot box after what happened last time. Go back to your boy, back before I took my break. I said then it has to happen at the state level. Thankfully, it is happening at the state level. Arizona, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and a whole bunch of other states are putting laws in place for voter integrity. Do not allow the media to rebrand that as voter suppression. Voter integrity. We're going to the polls in 2022. Next part, we are not going to forget everything they're doing here. Understand that we have to get out there in mass. We're only about a year away. We have to vote in Republicans. And here's another part of it. Vote out the rhinos. If there's people out there who were supporting the January 6th commission, Cheney, I'm looking at you, and Kingson, I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, that guy who cried, you can cry, I don't care about it. I'm just saying that the guy who cried. These rhinos, freaking Romney, when he's due up, I don't think he's due up next, but then maybe the next go, they got to go. We have to vote out these rhinos and put in actual conservatives. So we're going to go to the ballot box. We're not going to forget. We're going to get rid of these rhinos, and we're going to continue to speak up. Don't listen to your boy who said, hey, I'm going to self-censor. Listen to your boy who came back stronger. And because he came back stronger, has blown up, and we're reaching more people. You're here right now because I decided to stop self-censoring. And you can do it too. Speak up. They don't have the moral high ground. They're not better than us. You're not a bad person because you're a conservative. You're not a bad person because you're against abortion. You're not a bad person because you're America first. You're not a bad person because you want people to come here legally. You're not a bad person for this. You're not morally inferior to them. Don't allow it to happen. Speak up. They take you down, come back. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Keep being heard. We're getting heard. Case in point, you know what? This is the one, Juan. This is the one. Fuck Joe Biden is the trend of trends right now. You cannot go to a sporting event in New York City at the Subway Series, Mets, Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I won't swear this time. F Joe Biden was happening live on ESPN, the Uber Woke, or maybe it was Fox Sports. Either way, live at all the football games, it's happening. And what's particularly great about that is the people who are doing it are young college-aged people. Yes, I think they are finally starting to see outside of the bubble that has been pressed upon them over and over in these socialist school programs. They're realizing there is something outside of that, and they're seeing that being bombarded with and inundated with this leftist BS is not the only answer. They can't pick up their phone without being inundated with leftist ideology. They can't go to class without leftist ideology. They can't talk to their friends without leftist ideology. And yet at these massive sporting events, you're hearing it. I get an extra one. Fuck Joe Biden happening more and more. That is a very good thing. It's not all bleak. We do have checks and balances. They haven't packed the court yet. That's something we could talk about on another day. We do have our states. They are fighting this for us at the state level. I have confidence in Governor DeSantis, your next president, by the way. We could talk about that in another week. Abbott is doing good things in Texas. We have time to talk about what's going on there. Kristi Noem, McMaster, what's his name? McMaster, what's South Carolina's governor? He's done a good job, and he's actually done a really good job of staying below the radar, so he doesn't catch a lot of flack for it. So kudos to him. And others are doing what's necessary to fight and push back. Understand the vaccine mandate, not only is it unconstitutional, it's the ultimate distraction. Don't fall for it. We have to be aware of it. We have to make sure that we're vigilant, but at the same time, don't let that one keep you from looking at the other things that are happening. There are still Americans in Afghanistan. They are still stranded. They are still getting in the way of private citizens trying to help them. That is still an S show that is not going to stop anytime soon. That was a lot of ranting. That was a lot going on. All right, being told you have as long as I want. Now we're gonna do a little bit longer here, Juan. We're gonna have a little fun. Let's have a little fun now. Okay, so Juan has for me some videos. I haven't seen them yet. Juan, if you're ready, pull one up. We'll watch it together, and you'll get my 2 cents.
Pandaya.
Laying flowers at the site where John McCain was shot down in Vietnam. What the know-nothing millennials who set Kamala's schedule didn't know is that the site that she's laying those flowers at, it's a celebration of those who shot McCain's plane out of the sky and then captured him, delivering him to the VC for his long stay and torture at the Hanoi Hilton. The stunning ignorance of Kamala Harris and her team was noted by Yawen Zhu, a journalist based in Beijing. She tweeted, "Does Harris know this monument honors the people who shot down John McCain's plane? Vietnamese people view him as a war criminal." So in essence, Harris was paying tribute to those who shot down John McCain's plane. It'd be like Harris laying a wreath at Pearl Harbor honoring the brave Japanese pilots who sunk the USS Arizona. Great photo op there.
All right, if I'm correct, pendeja is a swear word, so you're going to squeeze that in there? Yeah, I thought so, Juan. Juan is from Puerto Rico, so he speaks Espanol. So do I, un poquito. All right, let's talk about that video. I think it's a vast amount of ignorance. Let's talk about a little deeper on that. John McCain. John McCain was a hero of mine as a young airman, and let me tell you why. When he was shot down, he was actually tortured. I don't think he gave up his name for some 40-something days. That's how hard and how long he held on while being tortured. And of note, his father was an admiral at the time. When the Viet Cong, I believe, had him, when they found out that his father was an admiral, they offered him early release. And it was going to be a PR win for them. He refused. John McCain, while being tortured, refused early release. And I do still get chills about it to this day. He refused early release to stay with his comrades who were in what's called the Hanoi Hilton, I believe is where they were, and they were being tortured regularly. He had, when he was running for president, you'll remember they would talk crap about him and body language experts because he wouldn't lift his arms up, or his arms showed how stiff and how uncomfortable it was. His arms were broken because they were hung behind his back as he was suspended from his own arms. So John McCain is one of the bravest people I've ever heard about, read about, or otherwise. I did disagree with him on his political stances, especially towards the end of his career. But that aside, John McCain actually was a great man, and we actually study him in the military because of his bravery. All right, Juan, let's do another one.
How to survive the oppressive new Texas abortion laws. As women, we are having our rights and freedoms stripped from us, so it's very important that we come up with creative ways to avoid having babies at all costs. First of all, did you know that it's possible to not sleep with every random creep you find on Tinder? If you're picky about who you sleep with, it's a lot less likely that you'll have an unwanted pregnancy. Also, there's this new thing, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but it's called birth control. It's a pretty new thing. It's only been around since the 1950s, so about 70 years. And if you use it properly, there's 99% chance that you won't even get pregnant. Another thing I could suggest is that if the birth control somehow fails and you're 1 or 2 weeks late for your period, you should go take a pregnancy test and then get an abortion before 6 weeks.
Yeah, the abortion one. I thought we were going to hit that one tonight. Let's hit it. The idea that this is somehow a bad thing, I don't see it. Abstinence is the way to not have babies. Sex makes babies. If we could address that topic, when you have sex, a possible consequence is a baby. But that word consequences is pretty tough for those on the left, whereas us on the right say, my choice is my consequences. Those on the left say, my choice is it's your fault that I made this choice, so this consequence isn't mine. And I agree. I mean, don't have sex with people with whom you do not want to have a baby. The math isn't really that hard. I'm I don't know where else to go with that. I mean, they always want to go back to the rape and incest portion of it. And they always want to apply this extremely small portion to the overall for everything. It was Hillary Clinton who once said abortions should be safe, legal, and rare. And now we're talking about a woman crowning during birth still being given the choice, as it were, to abort that baby in that moment. I fully support what Greg Abbott and what the legislature there has done. If you don't like it, get out. If you're from California wanting to move to Texas, because you all do, and this is something you don't like, stay in California, enjoy California. If you came from California and you're in Texas, you don't like it, go back to California, see how much you like California. And other than that, if you don't want to have babies, don't try to have babies. All right, give me one more. I think we got a meme, and then we're gonna call it a night. Oh, okay. Am I on? Is my audio going out? All right. Here's the big takeaway on this one for me. It's long been that Trump is the problem, correct? You have, let's go with Chuck Schumer, top middle. Chuck Schumer, I forget what year it is. It might have even been 2008. It was definitely during Obama, where he said that illegal immigrants were coming to this country and taking jobs and getting in the way of American growth for Americans. But now he cries when Trump wants to build a wall. Dianne Feinstein has long been entrenched in what's happening in California. I believe she was the mayor of San Francisco before she was a senator from that state. She was actually there when the California Dream was still the California Dream. And under her representation and under the Pelosi family, who's bottom right, and Gavin Newsom, which please, Larry Elder, I hope you win tomorrow. And then Leahy actually comes from Vermont. And I'm quite familiar with him and Bernie Sanders working together. But you got to remember, there's like 4 people in Vermont, and I left, so there's 3 people left. The other 2 are Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders, and then a farmer who decided to stay. So they're going to keep winning over and over. Maxine Waters is a grifter like you've never seen before in your life. And then, of course, we got good old Joe Biden, who only has one signature law to his name, which is the Crime Bill of 1994, which, according to the left, has disproportionately jailed black men and is another sign of systemic racism. And yet the guy who comes in from the outside is the problem. I'll quote Ben Shapiro here. He is the symptom. He is not the problem. And we are the symptom, and we are going to continue to stand up. We're going to call it a night. Here's all the places you can find me. YouTube. Let's get these going, Juan. Here's my 2 cents. Let's get the YouTube. We're going to get that channel going back up again. Starting next week, I'll be going live there at the same time. I want you guys to run there. Here's my 2 cents. You're going to see my 2 cent logo. Twitter, here, 2 cent KSJ. Throw that one up there for me. And then over on TikTok, 2 cent KSJ. I appreciate everyone for being here. Juan, you specifically, thank you so much for giving me a chance at this again. I'm really excited to be back. Thank you so much. Until next week, this has been my 2 cents.